Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to study about data types and variables. Now, whenever you create a program, you would require some input. The value which is supplied as an input is to be stored inside your program. Now, this value can vary in different types. It can be character, it can be numbers. This value is stored inside the memory and it returns a address. This address is complex. Your processor can understand this address. Maybe you can also remember one or two addresses. But it would be tough if we have to remember a series of addresses. So for this reason, we have the concept of variables. We declare variables of a certain type that is called as data types and store our value in that variable. For example, you may have read something like this in mathematics. X is equal to 7. So what is happening over here? The value of 7 is assigned to the variable x. Now, if I make some changes, like I'll say x is equal to x plus 1. So what does this mean? That the existing value of x is incremented by 1, is added 1 to it, and then again assigned to x. So that means the value of x would be 8. Right. So you can see that the value of x is being changed from 7 to 8. So it is not a final value, right? So that is why we call them as variable, because the value can be varied in this storage. We have different number of data types to manage these variables. If I want to store a number of the type whole number or a natural number, so I would take a integer data type. I'll call it as int. If I want to store a decimal value, I would store up in a floating type of variable. So I'll call it as a float variable, float data type. Then further, if I want to store a character, so I'll declare a variable with the type char. In case I want to store group of characters, I'll take a variable of the type string. Now in Java, if I want to define, I want to declare a variable, I'll say int x. So this is how you are going to declare up your variable. If you are going to declare up a variable of the type float, so you'll say float f. So this is your variable name which can be kept with any name. So if I am going to take up two numbers, I'll declare up a variable like int num1 and num2. If I'm going to take up a float variable or a string name, so I'll write string variable name as name, right? So this is how we are going to manage up our data types and the variables. Okay, now we will see how we can write the programs using the data types and variables. For this, I have created a project with the name Java App 01. Now this series will continue in the upcoming videos. In this video, I have created up Java App 01. Later, we will copy this to the next 02, 03 and 04. I'll be uploading up these project files in the video link, video description, and you can download it from the provided links. So let's write up a class as a main class. So here I'll take a Java class, we'll give it a name main class, click on finish. Here you get a main class. Now, as I said in the last video, that this is not a main class unless you write the main method. So we'll add the main method, public static void main. Whenever you write a public static void main, do not forget to write your string arguments, because this is the syntax. We will discuss later that why we write these string arguments. Just to quickly check my program if it is working good, I'll try to print a hello. Save this. So if I run my program by right click, run file, so we can see our output in the output window. It's processing my program. Here you can see the output, the hello in the output window. Now we were talking about the variables. If I want to take a variable, say int num is equal to 10. So what does this mean? I have declared up a variable num of the type int and assigned a value 10 to it. Now you may be wondering that why are we giving the value? Because when the program should execute, it should ask the value from the client. Definitely it will ask the value from the client or the user, but we'll bring that part later, because right now we are going to focus on the usage of the data types and the variable. So we will assign some value assuming that this is provided by some user. So here I'll write my system.out.println and try to print the value. Now if you are going to write something in double quotes, say someone has written it as double quotes and num, this will print the num as a text. So it won't print you 10, it will print you num. So ensure that you don't put these double quotes, instead write num. So whenever we are passing the variables to your system.out.println, they shouldn't be provided the double quotes. So if I save this and try to run, so you can see the output is 10. Now if I take one more variable, say int num2, I'll change the first variable to num1, the second variable to num2, and assign a value, say 12. Now it will be num2. So if I'm printing both the values, let me copy this and print both of my num1 and num2. So run the file again. You will see both values printed on your screen, 10 and 12. We can also assign some text, like I want to say num1 is equal to concatenated with. Now here you can see a plus symbol given. So normally we say the plus symbol means adding up two numbers, sum of two numbers. But here if you are providing up a string, this is a string. I'm passing up group of characters. Along with that, I'm passing up a number and I'm giving a plus symbol. That means I'm concatenating this string with this value. So it is going to print num1 is equal to the value of num1. So quickly let's run this. You can see the value num1 is equal to 10. Now proceeding further, we saw how we created up a int variable. Now if I want to take another type of variable, that is decimal value. So I'll declare up a variable of the type float. So I'll say float num2 is equal to 3.2. Talking about decimal values, we have two types of data types, float and double. By default, every decimal value is considered as a double. Remember, double is a bigger data type than float. It consumes more memory than a float variable. Now here if I say float num2 is equal to 3.2, it is giving me some error, because by default, as I said, Java takes every decimal value as double. So here also 3.2 is considered as float value, double value. So what we need to do is either we need to change this float variable into double, or if you want to save your memory, you want to write a float variable and save some part of the memory, you can write it as num2 is equal to 3.2 f. So this f is typecasting your value to a float type. So this is how we declare a float variable. Remember, as your decimal values contain two types of data types, float and double, similarly your integer contains byte, short, int, long. So in case if we want to have a small value to be stored in our program, like a value from 10 to 50 or maybe 100, we can easily use a short variable or a byte variable also. So that will save your memory. So here along with the float, I have float double. Proceeding further, if I want to take a character, so you can see we have a char data type. I have declared up a variable of the type char and stored a character. Now always your char variable, char type variable will contain only one character. So you have to give it in single quotes. Now if I want to show this value, I want to display this value by giving ch, and I will also display the num1 system.out.println num1. So all the values are being displayed in our program. So it is one is of int type, another one float, then we have ch, the char. So if I just try to show this value, run the file, so you can see 10, 3.2 and a, right? So things are very easy. We have the integers, we have the decimal values, and we have the characters. Now if I go for a closer look that what is the memory size, because I said earlier also that it is going to save some memory. So what is the memory size they are consuming? We all know that 1 byte is equal to 8 bit, right? So your byte type of variable will take 8 bits, that is 1 byte memory. So if I talk about memory, we will count it in the form of bytes. So your byte type of variable takes 1 byte memory, short takes 2, int takes 4, and the long type of variable takes the 8 bytes memory. Now if you compare it with C++, anyone who has not studied up C++, nothing an issue, because we are not going to use up C++ things here. It's just a comparison. If I compare with C++, we had int as 2 bytes over there. So here it is taking up 4 bytes. Now moving ahead, if I go to the float and the double type, it is consuming 32 bits, that is 4 bytes of memory. The float is taking 4 bytes and double is taking 8 bytes of the memory. So we have more type of the data types like Boolean. Now if I want to match a condition, or I am searching for a student record, if I don't get a student record, right, so I can pass some true or false value to it. If I get a value, I'll pass true. If I don't get a value, I'll pass some false value. So they have the literals true and false. Remember, this is a very important point, that true and false are the reserved values. You cannot declare any variable with the name true or the false. They are the values, and these are the reserved values. Further, you have the string type. So if I want to assign a string student name, so I can say ABC, right? So you can see that I'm declaring up a string type of variable, but I'm assigning up the value in the double quotes because you have more than one character. Even if you write a single character over here, it will be in the double quotes. But if I compare it with the character type of variable, it is single quotes character. So I hope you're clear with the basic declaration of your variables. Now, just a small trick over here. If I say I'm going to declare up a variable of the type int, say its name is num, and if I assign a value a, and let's just print this value, I'll say system.out.println, I'm trying to print the value num. So what is going to happen over here? Will it print a, or will it give me some error? If I run this program, it will give me the value. So here you can see num1 was 10, num2 was 3.2, and then your ch is a. Now later on, the variable num, which was the last one to be printed, is printing my value as 65, because every character has a corresponding ASCII code. ASCII stands for American Standard Codes for Information Interchange. Now when you are assigning up a character to your integer type of variable, it converts the value of a into the ASCII code and store it inside num. All right. So that's why we are getting the value as 65. So ASCII code for A is 65, and correspondingly for the uppercase Z, it will be 90. The value of small a, that is the lowercase a, will have its ASCII value as 97, and the lowercase z will have its value as 122. So this is how we use our data types and the variables. You declare the variables, assign some value, use it in your programs. So we have just gone through declaration of the variables and displaying the value. So in the next video, I'll show you how we can use these variables to calculate and bring up some more values, like finding up area of triangle or area of a rectangle, and more similar kind of problems. Till then, have a nice time. Goodbye.